What if the person you love more than life itself is quietly turning your world into a living hell? This is the story of Michael, a man who spent 6 years as a prisoner of someone else's whims. Every time he refused his wife's requests, a chilling silence would take over their home. She didn't yell, didn't start fights. She simply disappeared emotionally, forcing him to break his own boundaries just to win back her warmth. But one day, Michael realized he couldn't live like this anymore. He stopped bending to her will, and that's when the most unexpected thing happened. Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you stopped by my channel. If it's your first time here, don't forget to subscribe and like this video, as every like truly inspires me. Please tell me which city and country you watch this video from. Now, let's get started. My name is Michael, and today I want to open up about an experience that nearly destroyed my marriage, but also completely reshaped how I think about love and connection. My wife Haley and I had been together for 6 years at that point. Like most couples, we had faced our fair share of highs and lows, but over time I started to recognize a disturbing cycle, one I wish I had noticed much earlier. Anytime things didn't go Haley's way, she would shut down emotionally. There were never any arguments, no heartfelt discussions, no attempts to explain what was bothering her. Instead, she would pull away. From me, from real conversations, from any form of intimacy. At first I assumed she was just stressed or overwhelmed. Maybe she needed space to process something I wasn't aware of. I thought if I gave her room, she would come back around. But as the years passed, it became obvious this wasn't random at all. It was intentional. Every time I declined something she asked for, whether it was something trivial or something important, a favor or a decision, she would grow distant. And I don't just mean turning down physical affection. She would act like I was invisible, cold, and unreachable. And like clockwork, I would take the bait. I hated the way tension would take over the house, so I was always the one to try and bridge the gap. I was always the first to say I was sorry. I would comfort her, offer reassurance, and eventually, just to break through the wall she put up, I would give in and agree to whatever she wanted. And like magic, the moment I relented, everything shifted. Suddenly, she was sweet, affectionate, and attentive, as if nothing had ever happened. Now, when I look back, I see it clearly. Haley had mastered the art of quiet manipulation. She knew exactly how to make me feel like I was losing her without ever having to raise her voice. For years, I convinced myself that if I just worked harder to keep her happy, we'd both be okay. But everything changed because of one moment, a moment that seemed small at the time, but ended up shaking the entire foundation of our relationship. It all began about a week before Haley's birthday. She casually started talking about a brand new luxury spa resort that had just opened nearby. At first, she would drop little comments here and there, nothing too obvious. "Hey, love, did you see that new spa resort? It looks amazing," she said one day. Or, "Sabrina went there last weekend. She said it was the best experience she's ever had." I just smiled and nodded, not thinking too much about it. Haley liked indulging in nice experiences, and I didn't mind that. But as the days went by, she kept bringing it up. Those casual remarks turned into more pointed suggestions. It was clear she was trying to plant the idea in my head, softening me up before she officially asked. I should have known where it was going. One evening, while we were watching TV, she casually slid her phone across the couch toward me. "Look at this place, babe. Isn't it gorgeous? We should definitely go," she said, her eyes watching me closely. I glanced at the screen. It was stunning. A 5-star resort, full spa packages, all-inclusive weekend getaway. But then my eyes caught the price, $1,000 per person. Immediately, my stomach dropped. I knew money was already tight, with bills stacking up, car repairs we couldn't delay, groceries and other surprise expenses. I took a deep breath, trying to find the right words to respond gently. "Haley, I just don't think we can afford this right now," I said quietly. The air in the room shifted instantly. I saw her jaw tighten, The spark in her eyes dimmed just slightly, but enough for me to notice. It was subtle, but I had seen it too many times before. "So, that's a no?" she asked, her voice flat and empty. I exhaled slowly, trying to stay calm. "I'm just saying, let's wait. Maybe later this year, when things are a bit easier." I wasn't shutting it down forever. I was trying to be realistic, but deep down, I knew it wouldn't matter. Haley let out a short, sharp laugh and leaned back on the couch, folding her arms across her chest. "Sure." "Later," she muttered under her breath, just loud enough that I couldn't miss it. "You always say that." And there it was, the reaction I had come to fear. The invisible wall going up between us, her way of punishing me without a single argument. We finished the show, but she didn't say another word to me, not even a glance in my direction. No confrontation, no explanation. Just that suffocating silence I knew too well. This was Haley's pattern. If she didn't get what she wanted, she wouldn't fight. She would vanish emotionally. And every time, I would be the one chasing after her, desperate to bring her back. I would apologize, even when I hadn't done anything wrong. I would search for ways to fix things, to restore peace, anything to avoid that crushing silence, the way she would turn away from me in bed, making me feel like I was sleeping beside a stranger. But this time, I promised myself I wouldn't give in. That night, as I got into bed next to her, I hesitated. Normally, we had a bedtime routine. I would slide my arm around her waist, and she would lean into me. It was our quiet way of connecting before falling asleep. But when I reached out to her that night, resting my arm gently around her, I felt her body stiffen. She immediately pulled away. "Not tonight," she whispered, her back still turned to me. I lay there frozen. I wasn't trying to start anything intimate. It was just a small gesture, something that had always been part of us. But even that simple touch was too much for her now. But tonight, something felt different. That's when it struck me. This wasn't just another rough day or fleeting tension. No, this was intentional. A cold, calculated silence meant to punish me for not giving her what she wanted. I lay there, staring blankly at the ceiling, thoughts swirling like a storm in my mind. How many times had I been caught in this endless loop? How often had I apologized for things I hadn't even done? How many times had I backed down, bought gifts to smooth things over, or swallowed my pride just to keep the peace in my own home? Too many to count. And that night, something inside me finally broke. I made a decision. I wasn't going to grovel for my wife's attention anymore. I was finished being the first to give in. If she wanted to keep playing these emotional games, she could play alone. Instead of bending over backward to please her, I chose, for the first time in a long time, to focus on myself. For years, I had poured everything I had into keeping things normal between us. Every time Haley pulled away, I would scramble to fix whatever I thought was broken, say whatever needed to be said, just to bring us back to some false sense of calm. Her moods ruled our house, and I had been living under that weight like a man in chains. But not this time. I wasn't going to keep apologizing for things I shouldn't own. I stopped waiting for her to decide when I was allowed to be happy. Instead, I started doing things that made me feel alive. I dragged out my old gym bag, covered in dust and memories, and went back to working out. But this time, it wasn't to impress her or win her approval. It was for me, because I missed feeling strong, like I had control over something. The soreness in my muscles became a quiet reminder that I was moving forward. I even joined a casual basketball game with some coworkers, nothing serious, just a weekly thing. But it felt good. Good to run, to laugh, to be part of something that had nothing to do with my marriage. And then there was photography. How had I let that part of me disappear? Before Haley, my camera was practically an extension of my hand. I used to love capturing fleeting moments, strangers' faces, city lights dancing in the dark. But life had swallowed that passion whole, and I let it happen. Until now. I dug my camera out from where it had been buried and started shooting again. Anything that caught my eye. Sunsets bleeding into the sky, people lost in thought, cracks on the sidewalk. And with every photo I took, I felt like I was reclaiming the man I used to be. For the first time in years, I felt free. I wasn't walking on eggshells anymore. I wasn't obsessing over every look or sigh she threw my way. I wasn't hanging on her approval, waiting for her to decide when things were okay. If she wanted distance, she could have it. But I wasn't chasing after her anymore. And that's when I saw something start to change. Haley had always expected me to be the one to break first, to come crawling back, desperate to make things right. But when I didn't, she noticed. At first, she acted like she didn't care, but I caught her watching me, when I slung my camera over my shoulder and walked out, when I laced up my shoes for the gym. It was like she didn't know what to make of this version of me, this man who no longer revolved around her. Then came the night that flipped everything upside down. Haley had invited Miranda, a newer friend of hers, over for dinner. Normally, I would have sat quietly, let Haley lead the whole night. But not this time. This time, I was engaged, confident even, fully present in a way I hadn't been for a long time. And Miranda picked up on it. "So, Michael," Miranda said, tilting her head, eyes curious. "Haley mentioned you're into photography. You'll have to show me your work sometime." I met her gaze and smiled. "Yeah, I'd like that." It was a small thing, but I could feel the shift in the air. Miranda was definitely flirting, and I didn't shy away. I flirted back, subtle, nothing over the line, but enough to stir the room, enough for Haley to notice. Every time Miranda laughed at something I said, I caught Haley stiffening just a little. Every playful glance Miranda threw my way seemed to darken Haley's eyes. But the real blow came when Miranda stood to leave, gave me a sly grin, and said, "You know, Michael, you're way more fun than I expected. I can see why Haley married you." I watched Haley's whole body tense. For once, I wasn't orbiting her world, and suddenly, she was the one feeling off balance. She was feeling something she hadn't felt in a long time: competition. The next morning threw me for a loop. Haley was up before me, which was unusual enough, but then I smelled something coming from the kitchen, something I hadn't smelled in years. I walked in to see her at the stove, cooking. She turned around, smiled like nothing had happened, and slid a plate onto the table. "I made your favorite," she said sweetly. I raised a brow. "Thanks." I didn't overdo it. I didn't fall all over myself thanking her. I just sat down and ate. Over the next few days, she kept trying. She started putting on makeup, even when we had nowhere to go. She'd ask about my day, laugh at jokes she used to ignore, brush her hand against my arm as she passed, small, calculated touches, testing me, watching to see if she still had control. But this time, I knew how to play. I wasn't giving her the cold shoulder, but I wasn't running to her either. I didn't start conversations or reach out for affection. If she touched me, I barely reacted. If she flirted, I gave her a polite smile, but nothing more. And when we went to bed, I rolled away before she could get close. I wasn't being cruel. I was just done being manipulated. I was merely letting her feel a fraction of what I had carried for so long, and I could see that it was breaking her down. I sat on the couch, casually thumbing through my phone, when she entered the room and stopped right in front of me. At first, she said nothing. She shifted her weight uneasily, her arms wrapped tightly around herself as though holding herself together. After what seemed like an endless stretch of silence, she finally exhaled, a deep and weary breath. "It feels like we're drifting apart," she murmured at last. I looked up at her, saying nothing. This time, I wasn't going to be the one to fill the quiet. She lingered there, unsure, her eyes searching my face. After a long pause, she spoke again, softer this time. "Can we talk?" I placed my phone down and gave a small nod. "Yeah, let's talk." She swallowed hard, like she had to push the words out. "I miss what we used to be. I miss us." Leaning forward, I rested my elbows on my knees, my eyes locked on hers. "Haley, I love you. but I can't keep playing these games." Her eyes widened, her lips parting as if she was about to argue. "Games?" she whispered, almost in disbelief. "Yes," I said, my voice calm but unwavering. "The way you freeze me out. How you pull away whenever I don't meet every expectation you set." I took a slow breath before adding, "That's not love, Haley. That's control." She opened her mouth as though to defend herself, but no words came. She closed it again, and all that was left between us was silence. For the first time, I watched as something in her shifted, like she was seeing herself clearly for the first time. She had always been the one to hold the power, always assuming that if she retreated, I would chase her, eager to fix things. But this time, I didn't move. This time, I let the space stay between us. And now, she was the one feeling it. We sat in that heavy quiet for a long time. She stared down at her hands, nervously twisting her fingers, her whole body tense. Whatever she had expected from this conversation, it wasn't this. It wasn't me standing firm. And she knew that. It was the first small crack in the walls she had spent so long building around us. From that point on, something was different. It wasn't like everything magically got better overnight, but I could sense a shift. Haley stopped using affection as a weapon. The long, punishing silences, the way she would withdraw to manipulate me, all of that began to slip away. Not because I forced her to stop, but because she realized it no longer gave her control. She also stopped dismissing me with a roll of her eyes every time I disagreed. Before, if I ever stood up for myself, she treated it like an act of rebellion, like I was threatening her hold over us. But now she actually listened. We still had arguments, but she didn't act like my refusal to bend was a betrayal. And as for me, I finally understood that I deserved love without conditions. For the first time in what felt like ages, I felt like my voice mattered. I wasn't shrinking myself to avoid setting her off. I wasn't living in fear of her cold silences. By holding my ground, I gave us both a chance to start over. And slowly, our relationship began to heal. Of course, not every relationship has a happy ending like that. Not everyone is willing to change. But if you're with someone who uses love as a reward to be earned, who makes you work for their affection, ask yourself, is that really love? Or is it about control? Because real love doesn't need to be chased. It doesn't punish you. It doesn't make you feel like you're not enough. Real love is given freely. And for the first time in a long while, I finally knew what that kind of love felt like. This story has come to an end. True love is not a game of silence, manipulation, or a constant fight for attention. Love should never make you apologize for simply having your own opinion or setting boundaries. If you have to lose yourself just to keep the peace in a relationship, that's not love, that's dependency. Real relationships are built on respect, support, and honest communication, not on fear of losing the other person. Remember this: someone who truly loves you will never make you suffer to get what they want. Love is the freedom to be yourself. And if you're forced to choose between yourself and love, always choose yourself. Because healthy love starts with self-respect. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you like this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you.